Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a great weekend. So, here we are, Anne.
Once more.
If you haven't listened before, hello and welcome. For the next half an hour or so, Anne and I are going to have another conversation. And as always, we shall just see where it goes.
Okay.
Are you happy to begin, Anne?
I am.
Fantastic. I thought this week we could start with myself asking you about your experiences of community, particularly when you were a child, and how the community came together and how important it was.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay. Are you happy to begin with that?
I am, yes.
Okay, well, over to you then.
Community. In the beginning, from the beginning when I first had an awareness of community, would be really very limited, I would say. Community for me then was limited because in my younger years, it was a war, the Second World War.
Yes.
So it was a very, very close community
Right,
at that
okay.
time. So you actually lived in each other's pockets. Food, no matter what it was, to get food, there wasn't enough food. You couldn't go out in the streets and dance because as soon as dark came, you had the dark curtains and you couldn't even have a chink in the windows.
Yes.
So the communities were very close, more in streets.
Yes.
So that was your community. There was always church.
Yes.
Everybody went to church, which you can imagine really in a war because everybody wanted to pray for the loved ones who were away.
Yes.
So we had a church community as well. Then as I got older, I was still within this church community. Not so much like a religion. I think nowadays people think of church as religions.
Yes.
This is my experiences, remember, not anybody else's.
Okay.
Mine was never a religious thing because I went to a congregational church.
Right, okay.
So a congregational church is community.
Yes.
So in that church we'd have, now I'm getting to my ages of 12, 13.
Yes.
So the war's finished and life is starting. And remember how life began to start. It was so wonderful.
Exciting.
It was really exciting.
The birth of rock and roll, fashion, colour television.
Colour.
Yes.
Remember, there's never been any colour, so there was colour.
New foods.
Yes.
New flavours, new music, new life.
Yes, but we didn't have television.
Right, okay.
Until I was 13.
Right, okay.
So when I was 13, I was then asked at the church, the congregational church,
Yes.
to be the May Queen.
Right, okay.
So to be the May Queen, it wasn't judged like, in lots of churches, the pretty little girl, because I wasn't the pretty little girl. They would have a Rose Queen who was the pretty little girl.
Yes.
I wasn't that pretty little girl. But I was very involved within the church, within the youth club.
Okay.
And with helping, maybe putting out books and things like that. So although I didn't know this is how they chose the Queen, that's how they chose me because of what I did within, anything that I did within the church.
Yes.
So they chose me to be the Rose Queen. And that was the May Queen. That was my first experience of working within community.
Right, okay.
Because as queens,
Yes.
because all the churches would have a queen.
Right, okay.
It sounds mad today, doesn't it? But I had my page boy and my ladies
Okay.
who, and the proper train like the Queen and the crown.
You were the regent for your particular church.
Absolutely. And I must say now, and everybody must listen to this very carefully,
Yes.
because I was crowned Queen in 1953 before the Queen herself.
Right.
Because hers was June, so I am the first Queen of this country.
Right. Your Majesty. Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
You understand where I get my airs and graces from.
Absolutely.
So yes. So yes, I was then had to be crowned as Queen. So I was crowned as Queen in a ceremony. And I can remember worrying about my parents paying for my dress and my train because everything was velvet. And remember, we'd all had rations. We were still under rations then.
Yes.
But I had to have the long dress and the purple train and the crown. I had to be crowned.
Wow.
And I remember writing and it embarrasses me now, but it didn't at the time.
Okay.
And I remember writing a letter to my Auntie Frances saying, I think my mum wants some help with this because I don't think she can afford to buy all these things.
Are you making sure you had a proper gown and a proper crown?
Yes.
That you must be kitted out properly. Yeah.
But I was worried about it, and I just thought,
Yes.
I don't think they can afford it.
Right, okay.
But I remember my day of being crowned. And I had to choose the hymns, and Land of Hope and Glory was one of the songs I chose.
Yes.
So it was, in those days, can you imagine after a war, Land of Hope and Glory that would become?
It would be very patriotic,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
and how
with a real sense of national unity.
Yes.
I'm imagining it's such.
And even now when I hear it, it makes me cry.
Right.
And I remember my dad giving me, and I'm just trying to explain what communities were. And my dad, when I'd been crowned, walked up with a dozen red roses.
Yes.
And it's special little things like that make communities, I think, because you're sharing a moment with the whole community.
Yes.
And
you're from the community as well.
I'm from the community, yes.
So people are celebrating a member of the community in a way that unites the community.
Yes. So all the churches had a May Queen.
Yes.
And we used to have a gathering of May Queens. So all the churches would come together
Yes.
with their May Queens, and we walked from Manchester
Yes.
all the way to Gorton Monastery.
Wow.
And all these queens gathered there, and there was a special ceremony for a
Okay.
gathering of queens. And that was before Gorton Monastery now. This is before it got derelict. So I was in Gorton Monastery as a queen with all these other queens.
Yes.
And the power, I can still feel the power now of all that. And I think that's what we're missing. We haven't got a power of community. We talk about communities.
Yes.
But communities create power.
They do. Strength is unity.
Yes. So when we have our events, in my mind, that's what I like, and that's what I see. When you're playing with the children, and I watch the children's faces, and I see the dads and the mums doing tug of war.
Yes.
I see that power then, because I've recognised that power before, because I've been in it.
Yes.
And as I see this gathering, and children who don't know each other all playing together, and parents without phones, that to me is power in the community.
Yes.
Because for that moment, all your worries go.
Yes.
That's how I see community, is when a community comes together, it should be joyous and let your worries go.
Yes.
Or share them.
Absolutely.
And
A feeling of being a part of something bigger and greater than yourself.
absolutely.
A part of life.
Yes.
Participating in life.
Yes.
And participating in other people's lives. And a shared experience.
Yes.
Shared experience is so powerful, isn't it? It's what you're describing.
Especially the joy.
Absolutely. Conscious shared experience where we come together collectively, intentionally. And people experience this in lots of ways, often through music and sport,
Yes.
special occasions. But you're right, in the modern world, it seems to me, and I'm sure you all listening, it has occurred to you as well, that this is something that is becoming less and less sincere, less and less often, and less celebrated. As an intrinsic, subjective, internal experience, it's becoming more and more to do with what is outside of ourselves, how things look, how people perceive it, the pictures, the videos, what people say afterwards, rather than the real-time, intrinsic, subjective, authentic, felt experience. And I mean that sincerely and powerfully, like you're speaking about.
Yeah.
The cross-generational, unifying moments in time when we feel a part of something that links us to our past, and we are paving the way to the future.
Yes.
A real sense of meaning and a life on purpose and a life for purpose and a life with purpose. Powerful.
Yes. Passion. So in another way, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, yes.
Because I've spoken about my experience of community, of children, adults all coming together. how do you feel, what is the difference? Is there a difference between a group of people coming together to discuss politics or anything, any other serious subject? Is there a place for that as well?
Absolutely, yes.
I'm not, I look at life and
Yes.
I think we've become more in that direction than we've become in the direction. We all have opinions of what's going on in the world this moment.
Yes.
Which is quite frightening for me.
You mean a place of community where people come and discuss their ideas and discuss their reflections and their hopes and fears?
Yes.
Yes, there's absolutely a place for that. I would imagine a lot of people's experience of that might well have been their local village hall or their local pub, where people would come and sit together, or maybe a local cafe where people would meet deliberately, or they would find themselves crossing paths with people that they know, friends and family, neighbours, people they see that they become friends with, and strike up conversations whilst having a drink or whilst playing a game of darts or dominoes, and people discussing the social issues of the time, the political issues of the time, what's troubling people, but also great humour, great song and laughter and dance, celebrating each other's good news and consoling each other and showing great compassion through times of great adversity on a personal level and on a collective communal level. So it's those bases, those hubs, those centre points of community which are being eroded away. So the attack on the local pub, for instance, is an attack on community.
Yes.
But most local pubs now aren't local pubs. They're run by chains. They're focused on gastro menus, and they can be, if done well, very successful and very pleasant places to be. But they aren't necessarily the central hub of community. And the same for local cafes, local parks, local libraries, the local leisure centre. These are bastions of community, or at least they were, or even the local bus stop where you would get your morning bus to school, to work, or to go and meet somebody on a date or something. You would learn the rhythms of life in terms of who would be there at certain times, and you may even recognise somebody that you didn't know their name, that they would normally be at the bus stop at a certain time and they may be running late and you may hold the bus for them even though you didn't know their name. There was active, engaged community. You recognised other people's relatives. You'd look out for each other's younger brothers and sisters. You'd look out for your friends and family. You'd look out for each other. You'd look out for strangers. It became an active, conscious part of life. Never mind in your day.
Yes.
I am sure, if you are to speak about it shortly, it's regressed so much since the stories you are telling and the stories you have told before so vividly and so meaningfully and so importantly, that we must bring this back. And it can be, and it should be enjoyable as well. We should be, in terms of it being effective, engaged with politics, engaged with the economy, engaged with sport and music and culture and family and life. And of course, you all listening and everybody in the world is going to have differing experiences, differing points of view, which is why the conversations were so passionful, so vivid, so lively, so important, because people were learning.
Yes.
I learned so much from listening to you. I often may feel that I have a different experience or a different point of view than yourself, but listening to you, Anne, if nothing else, will make me reflect on my point of view, will make me think on what I think and feel, and make me question myself in a good, positive way. And it may confirm what I feel I know, but it may shape and change what I think I know, because I'm seeing things in a new way or in a different way. And we learn from each other. So no matter how sure we are of a position, hearing another person's point of view, hearing each other, and that's the same for all of you listening, we grow together. And it's breaking down, community's breaking down, and people are becoming disengaged and disenchanted with the way things are. I do not see value in everybody agreeing with each other about everything all of the time, because that's unnatural. It's implausible, it's unnatural. What we can all agree upon is that we're all invested moving forwards for the greater good, and we can all be respectful even in our disagreements. We can converse and debate honestly, passionately, but respectfully.
Yes.
And that we can move together with our opponents and our friends in a cohesive spirit of community, something that is very much honouring dignity, decency, fair play, a decorum in life.
Yes.
And that is at the centre of community as well. A moral standard, an intrinsic conscience that we all can activate. And for us to turn this around, for us to turn this path around, for us to turn humanity around, is going to require all of us to recognise that ultimately we share one planet as the human community, and we can express and embody and lead by example in all of these ways that we are speaking about as human beings to each other, for each other, on earth. And it starts with us as individuals.
I agree with all of you've just said, and I think, but one of the things that for me is I believe that if we forget the past, we have no future. And by that I mean and that is what's happening. People are forgetting the past, so we're losing tradesmen.
Yes.
When these tradesmen die, there'll be no trades because there's nobody to teach them. So the young boys should be talking to people who've been in the trade.
Yes.
What's happened? I think what has happened in many ways, as I see it, is that when people look at being a joiner, I may be wrong in this, but they look at joiners, the electricians, or they did, as being workmen. They're workmen.
Yes.
What they don't understand, and because it's not talked about, is when a young boy did an apprenticeship.
Yes.
It took 6 years.
Wow.
Longer than the universities. It took 6 years, and they had to pay an indenture.
Wow.
For that, so they actually paid for their apprenticeship.
Yes.
But they went through that on the job for 6 years before they got paid full money. And things like that are not talked about. So they knew their trade.
Yes.
When they were working. I don't even know whether when you were a young man whether you did papers or not. But my girls did a paper round. As soon as they got to 12, they both did paper rounds.
One of my best friends had a paper
Yes.
round, and at times I would join him.
Yeah. So you know that when they did that paper round, they had to go in, make sure they had enough papers for their round.
Yes.
Put them in order themselves.
Yes.
As to how they delivered them. Put them in order on the bike.
Yes.
And then go to each in the rain.
Absolutely.
So I think that ethic and that helps. That's all to do with community.
Yes. Responsibility.
Yes.
And
when you say about the pubs, obviously I've said before that my dad had a pub, and he was a very, very strong licensee, very strong.
Yes.
And his rules were his rules. So in those days you had a vault. You still have a vault, but no women were allowed in that vault at all.
Okay.
Because the men could swear.
Right.
The men could tell jokes.
It was a space to let off steam.
It was a space for men.
Right.
They
okay.
played dominoes. They played darts. They played snooker.
Yes.
It was all men's games in there. For men, it was what men wanted to do, but it gave them a chance to let off steam, even if it was about the wives.
Yes.
So women were never allowed in it.
So in a way, it's a type of talking therapy.
Yes.
In modern colloquial
Yes.
new age slang now.
Yes.
The woke culture that we can celebrate.
Yes.
It was a safe space.
Yes.
Where people could openly share their feelings and express their vulnerabilities and celebrate their masculinity.
Yes.
In a way that they knew was safe with people that they trusted.
And that's needed for men.
And if it didn't go any further, in as much
Yes.
as their wives, their mothers, their
Yes.
further friends didn't need to hear about it, it was a safe space in that way.
Yes.
And I'm talking about that positively.
That is positive.
I'm honouring it and recognising maybe ideas are falling down because people aren't actually talking about different things here. This has always been happening in certain ways.
Yes.
And maybe we've forgotten that.
Yes.
Do you feel that's fair to say?
That's fair to say. So you've got the men there in the vault. So remember, this is happening when I get married. This is still the way it is.
Yes.
So we're married with children now, because I got married. I had my first child at 19, got married at 18. So we're very young. So what used to happen was if somebody had a babysitter.
Yes.
There were 5 of us, five couples.
Okay.
So 4 may have babysitters, 1 may not. So we while the men were in the vault,
yes,
the women would meet in somebody's house who didn't have a babysitter for coffee,
yes,
or tea, where we could call our husbands.
Right. Okay.
This is life, isn't
Yes.
it?
I'm laughing because I know that it's true.
So
in the best of ways.
Yeah, the best of ways.
Yes.
So we would go and I would listen to people calling the husbands,
Yes.
and we'd all do the same. And then I'd go home and think, oh, well, Jim's not that bad because he's not as bad as hers.
Right, okay. So it made you feel better.
It made me feel better.
Yes.
But we also had somebody whose, and I will not mention any names, whose sister
Right.
had a husband who every Friday night went home and beat her up.
Right, okay.
Only Friday night. He didn't drink any other time, only Friday night.
Right.
The nicest man you could possibly meet, unless it was Friday.
Because of the
Because
alcohol.
of that. And this is a story I'm telling you, which people will wonder what on earth happened, is that...
Right.
And what happened on this night with this man, and it's something that none of our husbands ever heard about, ever.
Right. Okay.
We didn't speak about it. And she absolutely adored him.
Yes.
She really adored him. But every Friday night she knew this was going to happen. She used to lock the children in the bedroom. This is what happens in houses that people don't know about.
I'm sure it's still happening now.
And it's still happening
with,
now.
With lots of people.
Yeah, but that's why I'm talking about it. Because I
Yes.
think it is important.
It's very important.
But what happened then, and remember, none of us have got any money. We're all living in 2 up and 2 down houses.
Yes.
So if you've ever been in these terrace houses, you can walk all the way through the yards.
Yes.
So you go through your own yard, across the Ginnel, into the next your backyard, straight through their house.
Yes.
And that's how we used to live. You used to always enter through the backyards.
Okay.
So we're all sat having our teas and coffees, and this sister comes through the back door, and we're all drinking cups and saucers then, not mugs.
Yes.
I'm demonstrating to James, by the way, here. You can't see me, but that's what I'm doing. So we've got cups and saucers. She comes
Right,
in.
okay. That's what that was. Okay.
You've got to set the scene, James.
Yes, okay.
So we've got the cups and saucers. She comes in. I've killed so-and-so. Husband. You've never seen so many women,
Wow.
all of us with cups half to our mouths and saucers. So imagine this scenario, but this isn't make-believe. So we sat with these cups and saucers, like this. What do you mean? I've told you. Come with me, she says. So we all get up, go out through the back garden, through the backyard, all the way through the houses to her house. I know now why people get clues, because everyone we stopped and looked round the corner to see if anybody was seeing us till we get to her house.
Okay.
By now we've got 6 women, 6
Yes.
young women. I'm only 19.
Okay.
6 young women. So we go down her backyard into the house, and she's, where is he? He's in the front room, because you had front rooms then. You didn't have lounges. He's in the front room. So we walk in, we're trying to scramble through the door, and we all open the door. He's lay on the floor with blood coming from his head. He's bleeding all over the floor. And we all go like that. And he suddenly goes,
Okay, I can laugh now. Okay.
So he goes, and I've never seen anybody move. This is to demonstrate
Yes.
how somebody lives with something like this.
Okay.
And has to be quick.
Yes.
I've never seen anybody move so fast. She ran, picked up the poker that she'd hit him with the hook on the end,
Yes.
put it onto the stand, and said to him, "You silly bugger, you've fallen over and hit your head on the fender."
Wow.
He said, "What are they all doing here?" And she said, "They've come to help me pick you up."
Wow.
And none of our husbands ever knew about that. But that shows you, I'm trying to show you what communities can be like.
You'd have to be there to believe it, really. I do believe you.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly,
so...
you would, yeah.
Yes, it's so... I don't know. It's the worst of times and the best of times, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's the worst of the human condition and the best of the human condition.
But both in him as well.
Absolutely, that's part of my point.
Yeah. Everybody loved him.
And isn't life complicated?
Yes.
And yet at the same time, we can make it fairly simple as well.
Yes.
Not to be in any way, shape or form blasé about something that's deeply serious and a huge issue and one I'm deeply passionate about. But you're right, a sense of togetherness.
Yes.
And humour's important as well, isn't it? In you telling the story and keeping life up and finding a sense of buoyancy of soul.
Yeah, there's sometimes in life that I wish to drank. That was one of them.
Yes. Well, yes, okay.
Yeah. So life then was
fascinating,
it was
fascinating. Isn't it? It's fascinating.
Like, you know, even in the pub with when you had the vault, then you've got the lounge where the women sat.
Yes.
And listened to the piano. Then it was on a Saturday, everybody got together with the piano and had a sing song.
Yes.
It's sad, isn't it, really? It's sad that that's gone. But my dad was very tough.
Yes.
Nobody was allowed in there till they were 18. Pubs in those days, till they were 18. We had milk bars.
Yes.
Up to being 18, you went into a milk bar for hot Vimto.
I like hot Vimto.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Life feels simpler yet firmer at the same time. Firmer being in the context of, yes, in terms of boundaries, expectations, but at the same time, a gentler place. I'm speculating, you lived through it. Life now feels cruder, harsher, and yet at the same time, more people have more access to more support, more things are talked about. People talk about their feelings, people are encouraged to talk about their feelings more. I'm not saying everybody does all of the time, and there's still a lot of people that repress a lot of things. But we definitely live in a society now where people are engaged with thinking about their feelings, people talking about their feelings, and lots of issues being brought to the fore. But paradoxically, the world seems a harsher place. The world feels more unkind, more judgmental. People are dealt with less compassion. That's how it feels. Maybe not you listening this morning in terms of how you treat people, but life in and of itself, the services we get, the systems we have, the way community is, or the lack of community, the way the schooling is, the way the hospitals are, the way work is, the way we treat each other in relationships, the way we treat our friends, often mindlessly, not necessarily consciously. Life feels harsher, even though more things are obviously more talked about. It's a bit of a paradox. Whereas the impression I get, and maybe we can explore this in future episodes, Anne, is with your generation, it's often said it was much more stoic. People didn't speak about certain issues.
Feelings.
And yet at the same time, people were seemingly more engaged with their conscience, more actively kind, had a much more of a resilience to life and a sense of a can-do attitude, a gratitude for life. I'm not saying that everybody felt that way. I'm definitely romanticising it.
Most people did, because we'd come through a war.
Absolutely,
so we
okay.
Did. So we had a lot. Remember, we had a lot to be grateful for, and we could walk from one job into another.
Absolutely, and
that's a massive thing.
I think to finish it today, that's a great place for us to remember today. We're in danger of erasing what's good about our lives now, because if things change in different ways, we could look back at the way we have opportunity now, as much as we want to change it, and forget that there is so much to be grateful for today. We want to change so much, and there's a lot about life that is spiralling out of control, yet there is so much we can find gratitude for, and huge progress has been made in lots of ways, and we can honour that, celebrate that, and come together in community again to feel it again. So our next community party, if it has stirred you, is April the 12th at Sale West Community Centre, next Saturday. Sale West Community Centre, and we hope to see you all there.
And come and have fun with us all.
Absolutely. All generations, all people, you are all welcome. I think we'll have to leave it there, Anne.
Okay.
That's gone really quickly.
Bye.
Short and sweet. And we'll have a lovely weekend, everybody, and we look forward to being with you and speaking with you again next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.